Hi, everyone, and welcome to Café IBTTA. I'm Pat Jones. My guest today is Cassaundra Rouse, Executive Director of the Illinois Tollway. Cassaundra was named Executive Director by Illinois Tollway Board of Directors in August 2022, and now leads the state's 294-mile tollway system, supporting 5 roadways across 12 counties in northern Illinois. Rouse has more than a decade of experience at the tollway. Before joining the Tollway, Rouse was a senior auditor for Ernst & Young, as well as an audit and compliance manager for Arthur Andersen. Rouse attended Howard University in Washington, D.C., and holds a Bachelor of Science degree in management with a concentration in accounting. Cassaundra, welcome to Café IBTTA. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Pat. It's great to be here.
Well, on Monday, the United States celebrated Juneteenth. Juneteenth, officially, the Juneteenth National Independence Day, is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. Deriving its name from combining June with 19th, it is celebrated on the anniversary of the order by Major General Gordon Granger proclaiming freedom for enslaved people in Texas on June 19, 1865. 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. Originating in Galveston, Juneteenth has since been observed annually in various parts of the United States, often broadly celebrating African American culture. The day was recognized as a federal holiday in 2021 when President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law. So we want to acknowledge Juneteenth and what it means for America. We still have a lot of work to do to ensure that all Americans enjoy the benefits of freedom promised by our founding documents. And Juneteenth is a step in the right direction. Cassaundra, I know you probably have some thoughts about Juneteenth, and I'd love to hear your observations.
Thank you, Pat. And just thank you, too, for using this platform to just, talk about Juneteenth and the observance of it yesterday. It's such a important, day to recognize and for Americans to really understand what has been known to be the second Independence Day. And as you mentioned, it was about the day that the federal troops really arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to let, close to 250,000 people know that they were free. And again, almost 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. So you'll often hear that this is referred to as Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, Jubilee Day. And when it's a day of reflection for me personally. It's a day where I'm really thankful for the historically Black colleges and universities that really took the front line of educating many Black minorities in various areas from, doctors, engineers, attorneys, at a time where, education wasn't really possible for, African Americans. And so it's, as you mentioned, it's a time for us to reflect on, where we are today, where we need to go, the continuous investments we need to make in our community, in our youth. And so I'm really, thankful for the observance, from a federal standpoint, but then also the opportunity to bring, awareness, even to, our own children. I mean, in school, they're not taught this. And so this just really opens up that dialogue, for all generations to understand what Juneteenth means to African Americans, how it, received its, recognition, but then also an opportunity to just talk about, where we are today and how we can move forward and really have the freedom that is to be for all.
Cassaundra, thank you so much for elaborating on that and giving us your perspective about Juneteenth and how important it is to our country and especially to the African American community, but to all Americans, because it really represents a recognition that we have not done all that we could do to ensure the freedom and the rights of all Americans. And this is, I think, a good step in the right direction to, making us truly live up to the principles that our founders that our founders wrote. So
Yes,
thank you so much.
thank you. One other point that I wanted to
Yeah.
highlight, just to kind of share what I did over the weekend to just kind of really, bring this point forward and just, making contributions in our community. I mean, I spent the last 4 or 5 days at Ohio State with over 700, students, minority students, in a leadership development program. And one of the community service events that we did was pack 100,000 packets of food through Feed My Starving Children for third world countries, to make sure that they have the proper nutrients that they need. And so it's just this community service effort where you've got, young Black and brown students, in the same place, making an intentional effort to just, kind of help those that are maybe a little less fortunate. And so I was just excited to not only, again, have the opportunity to speak to 700 students, to teach them about the significance of Juneteenth, but also to have them, have an intentional community service effort to help others.
That's fabulous. That's wonderful. What a wonderful way to commemorate the Juneteenth holiday and to spend your weekend. Cassaundra, you mentioned the role of historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and you attended Howard University. Could you tell us something about what that means to you? What HBCUs mean to the African American community and to America as a whole?
Absolutely. So as mentioned, I went to Howard University, which is a historically Black college and university. And what you'll find about HBCUs is that they play such a pivotal role in providing doctors, lawyers, anyone in the medical profession, transportation professionals, engineers, many of the top colleges, and I'll highlight one. Of course, Howard University produces a lot of attorneys and doctors, but North Carolina, agricultural NCAT, we call it, they produce the highest number of engineers. And so we have a number of HBCUs that really produce the leaders that you see and that are likely that are in the boardroom, sitting next to you doing your operational areas and just leading organizations and entrepreneurs. And so HBCUs provide many minorities with that opportunity. And so I'm really thankful for that, because diversity in the workplace, diversity within our neighborhoods, diversity in our families is so key. And our HBCUs play a very pivotal part in that.
Cassaundra, thanks for telling us more about the role that HBCUs play. And as I'm thinking about this conversation, you are unique in a way in that I think you're one of 2 women who lead the top 10 U.S. toll agencies by revenue. The other one is Nicola LaCourie with Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. And you are one of only a handful, a very small number of people who were promoted from within the Illinois Tollway to take on the role of executive director, and the first African-American woman to have the role as executive director of the Illinois Tollway. So tell us what that is like, and why do you think this happened, and why is it happening now?
Yes. So first I want to say that I'm just, extremely grateful, for the opportunity right now today. I want to thank, our Governor Pritzker, and the board of the Illinois Tollway, for the opportunity, for the appointment. It is, such a great opportunity for the representation of a woman, a minority woman in this particular role. And just to give a little stat about our agency, we are an agency that, right now we're in the 12th year of our Move Illinois Capital Program, which is a over $14 billion program. We are in that 12th year. We have $1.5 billion dedicated to our capital program. From a usage standpoint, we have 1.5 million daily drivers. We have 2.6 million daily toll transactions. We have 1,500 employees. I have 680 bridges, 2,300 lane miles, 5 toll roads. And so it's a great responsibility, but to have the opportunity to kind of rise to the ranks of the Tollway, to then, be appointed as executive director is super rewarding, and just really gives, I look at, what this says to other, minorities, non-minorities, women that are out there that are looking to ascend to C-suite levels, that this is an opportunity, and I'm happy to be a part of paving the way, just as others have done for me. And it's just, a phenomenal opportunity today. I think when I came into the organization, I came into an internal audit role, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about that, but right now I'm really just excited to just kind of, continue to move the Tollway forward.
Cassaundra, since we're talking about opportunities for people and creating more opportunities, and I'm looking in the chat, and there's a lot of hand clapping and hearts and banners and lots of celebration of the things that you're talking about, that we're talking about together. And I know that equity is a really important value for you and the Illinois Tollway. And I wonder if you could tell us something about the things that you're trying to do to advance equity with your customers, with people who are unbanked or underbanked and those kinds of things. Talk to us about how that sort of helps fulfill the goal of Juneteenth and our striving for freedom and equity in this country.
So one thing we definitely pride ourselves on, here at the Tollway and as a leader, is to move our, capital program with, diversity, equity, and inclusion in mind. And that also speaks to the way in which we deliver customer service. It's really important that we deliver the highest level of customer service to our patrons that utilize our Tollway system. So in order to ensure that equity is in the front of everything we do, we need to understand, who our customers are. And one of the things that we're doing is for what you may term as our unbanked customers, we've come up with a relationship with a vendor, check-free systems, which will allow our patrons, our cash users, to use this check-free pay system that's available at your local Walgreens and CVS and currency exchanges to pay their tolls, obtain a transponder, pay their invoices, overall make it easier and convenient for them to pay their tolls. We also most recently came up and partnered with some of the other agencies in the Illinois area, with the Illinois Department of Revenue, the Department of Health and Human Services, to work with income eligible drivers to get the benefits of a iPass with a very limited nominal fee, to ensure that they can pay tolls at the lowest price point possible, and then even have the opportunity to waive invoice fees. Now, what's really dynamic about this program is by partnering with these other agencies that really are working with families that are income eligible, it allows a very seamless process for them to take advantage of this tolling reform that I'm speaking of, and to make sure that equity in tolling is possible and is realized. So we're really excited to just deliver that and be innovative in that space, and to make sure that these are some services that we're providing to, again, make sure that we're delivering a world-class customer service center.
We've been talking about things that you've been doing to try to make the lives of your customers more bearable, especially the underbanked, the unbanked, others who, maybe can't get the best toll rate because they don't have a transponder, et cetera.
Yes.
You're also doing a lot for your, I think it's 1,500 employees. You have a big agency, and
yes,
and you're doing a lot to help your own employees with their physical health, their mental health. You've instituted something called Wellness Wednesdays. And I wonder if you could tell us about that and the effects that it's having in the organization.
Absolutely. So we are really proud to deliver Wellness Wednesdays. And this is a program where we are really, again, being intentional about caring for, those of us and who really work dedicated to deliver the services of the Tollway. And Pat, I must say, I have a phenomenal team and a dedicated team that, really works hard. I mean, extremely hard, to the point where I have to ask them, look, guys, somebody needs to take some vacation because I see the vacation rolls, hours kind of roll up, and I don't want you to lose it. So, please, find the time. But to ensure that we are, really showing them of our attention there with Wellness Wednesdays, we have a number of different, programs that we push out. We do lunch and learn webinars. We offer, we have a blood drive that we do. We do monthly newsletters. We even bring in through Blue Apple a group of health practitioners that will really evaluate your whole body for, predisposition to, stroke screenings and other, health related matters that you might not be cognizant of. And so this annual Blue Apple, stroke prevention program is really key. And many have found, some significant things that they didn't even know was happening, or at least preventive things that they could be doing. There's health and nutrition, workshops that we bring. We bring Weight Watchers into the place to help those of us, kind of, get a little healthier and from a weight standpoint. We also have what we call peer support groups, to help those that, may be struggling. Last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. So we, kind of pushed out to the agency a number of things that they could do, even down to the 5-minute deep breathing exercise to relieve stress. So there's just little touch points in that way that we're making sure that we're touching the whole employee from a health standpoint. And we're really, just excited about the delivery of our wellness programs.
You're doing a great job in your leadership role, helping your employees be the best that they can be, not only in their jobs, but physically, mentally, spiritually, to help them along in a very challenging time. We're 3 years, a little more than 3 years post the beginning of the pandemic, and it's been a really challenging time. And I think the kinds of things that you talk about really help people. Yeah. Just a reminder to all our viewers, this is Café IBTTA, where we drink coffee and we talk about things that are interesting, relevant, uplifting, and fun. Our guest is Cassaundra Rouse, the Executive Director of the Illinois Tollway, and we are taking your questions. We'd love to hear your questions in the chat function. Please use all panelists and attendees, or everyone, so we can all see your question. And Cassaundra, let's talk about what's going on out there on the roadway. You have an award-winning project recently recognized by the American Council of Engineering Companies Engineering Excellence Awards Gala, the I-294, I-57 interchange of the Illinois Tollway. You mentioned to me before this is one of your favorite projects. Tell us more about this important project.
Absolutely. So you are so correct. We had an opportunity last week. I had the opportunity to accept on behalf of the Tollway, actually 3 awards from ACEC. And I would like to just highlight the 3, and then of course highlight the one that, is closest to me because I live in that neighborhood. But one was the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway Bridge project. The second one was a 294-mile long gantry system. And the third one, which you spoke of, is the I-294, I-57 interchange project. And what's so exciting about this particular project, first, I live in the Chicago Southland, so I travel this road quite frequently. And what we found on the Chicago Southland is that we had 2 interstates that crossed but never connected. And from what I'm told, there were only 2 interstates in North America. Don't ask me what the first one was. I'm going to go with the engineers who told me that there were 2, and we had one of them. And what we are proud of is that we relieved that barrier. So we actually, in partnership with the Illinois Department of Transportation, we delivered I-294, 57. We connected 294, 257, which really provided an opportunity for communities to connect. It provided and serves now 76,000 vehicles per day. It saves drivers $4 million annually in fuel, allows them to get to their place of destination faster. But more importantly, what it did for the Chicago Southland is the economic impacts that it had and the jobs that were brought to the community. The area has experienced, since the delivery of that interstate, job growth upwards of 6,500. And also, as I mentioned, economic investment. We saw distribution centers pop up. we have 3 Amazon distribution centers come in the area that has contributed to a lot of that job growth. And Pat, I'd like to highlight one of the stories I'd like to tell about, the significance of this project is one that I heard from a teacher who teaches in the Chicago Southland. And what I also enjoy, since I'm in the area, I'm in the community, people don't always know that, I lead the agency. So sometimes I find myself in conversations where people are talking about the benefits that our system delivers. And in this particular case, the story came from a teacher who highlighted the fact that they had a student in class, typically not always engaged, but this particular day noticed that, the student smiled, happier, into the classroom, ready to learn. And he pulled the young lady aside and say, hey, what's going on? I noticed you got a different disposition today. And so she was so excited because both of her parents had most recently started jobs with the Amazon facility that borders, the interchange that I'm speaking of. And so what it said to him was just, how just by the fact that now her parents are employed, it impacted her in the classroom prior to that, but it impacted her now in a positive way, in the sense that now she felt, just so rewarded that now her family was employed, and it just, enabled her to come into the classroom ready to learn. And so I'm just so excited about, what we've been able to do in that community, the economic growth that's coming. And it really just speaks to just generally the economic growth that we're really delivering throughout the system at the Tollway.
Cassaundra, that's a great story about the ripple effect of how, these kinds of capital projects and connecting 2 interstates that weren't connected before, and the businesses that grow up around that, and affecting, sort of the disposition of a child. What a great story.
Yeah.
We've got some questions here in the chat. Heidi Corcoran asks, how do you motivate employees to participate in Wellness Wednesdays? That can be a challenge to those resistant to the idea. Who could be resistant to the idea? Huh?
Exactly.
How do you motivate people?
Yes. So one, from a communication standpoint first, we make sure that we use various channels to communicate, what our Wellness Wednesday targets are. In addition to that, with my leadership team, I talk with them about, the importance of just overall, health and self-care, and making sure that they're pushing those messages down to their team. Something that we also most recently did was, because many of you that are listening are probably experiencing the same thing, especially with pandemic, our meetings are stacked. There's very little time in between meetings. Who obeys the lunch hour anymore, right?
Right,
so
right. You gotta
what's the
eat.
lunch hour?
You gotta eat, man.
You gotta eat. So we recently structured such that pushed out some communication actually in May that talked about 45-minute, 50-minute meetings. And now our system will only allow, we try to allow only if it's on the hour 1 to 145, 150, so that people are hopefully conditionally moving toward allowing 10-minute breaks between meetings. Because we've learned through research that's out there that what does that do? It reduces stress. Because typically, and it also brings about a more effective meeting too. So we are really kind of threading that through the Tollway. And to the person that asked the question, no, it's not easy. Everybody's not going to jump on board at the same time, but it's the continuous messaging. It's the employees sitting next to them or in the meeting with them, if it's a Zoom virtual call, just expressing the benefits that they've gained by participating in the programs that we're offering. And through, the goodwill of just people kind of connecting on how they've benefited is how we're, encouraging and participation and hopefully full-fledged adoption of the wellness programs that we have.
Cassaundra, I love the idea of the 50 or 45-minute meeting, all right? Listen up, worldwide tolling industry. No more hour-long meetings. They're 50 minutes from now on. IBTTA staff, you too, all right? Give people a break. Give them 10 minutes before their next meeting.
Right, and Pat, remember, it provides for a more effective meeting. You're not gaining anything with those extra 10 minutes, so.
Right, that's right. With 10 minutes to go, everybody's looking at their watch saying, how do I get out of here, right? Get me out of here.
They're thinking about that next meeting that's at the top of the hour, so.
Yeah, exactly. We got a comment from Chris Tomlinson. He says, Cassaundra, thanks for all the innovative programs you're doing, internal and external to the Tollway. Could you also highlight your work supporting DBEs through your OCIP program? You're going to have to tell us what OCIP is.
Yeah, so thank you, Chris, for the question. And first, I'd like to just highlight that our diversity program, our diversity team is certainly dynamic. We have a number of diversity-related programs. What Chris is speaking of is our rolling owner insurance controlled program. And what that does, it's a ROSA program that was developed from us listening to our diverse community saying, hey, you know what, you've got these insurance requirements on your jobs, and you know what, we need some help. It is a barrier. So the ROSA program basically provides, that insurance for that minority firm to allow them to still competitively compete, to be awarded jobs within our system. But we have a number of, diversity related programs, as I mentioned. I'd like to spend a few moments, if you don't mind, Pat, kind of highlighting what those are. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So one, we have just holistically, the Tollway really provides opportunities for small, diverse, and veteran-owned firms to really do business with the Tollway, grow their businesses with the Tollway. And in order to do that, we've, developed a suite of programs to kind of really touch, a business where they are. First, I wanted to highlight our technical assistance program, and meeting a small and diverse firm where they are is exactly what our TA program does. It allows them to understand, how to bid, what is estimating, how to understand, putting together a statement of interest, learning a little bit more about, invoicing, how to really develop a good back office. And what we've learned through the years is that great, we're developing a pipeline of small and diverse firms, but it's also important that once they get the job, to make sure that they have the supportive services to allow them to move through the job, in a very seamless and efficient manner. So we're even providing, again, the back office, helping with, in some cases, firms with financials, helping them to understand the insurance requirements. And so this, again, is a program that allows us to meet an employee, a small business, where they are. Then we have our Construction Works and our Earned Credit program. Construction Works program is another program from a worker standpoint that creates a qualified pipeline of diverse men and women ready to enter career in heavy highway. And this is really important because we know there's a labor shortage in that area. So what we do there, again, we meet a prospective worker again where they are. It helps them with childcare. It helps them with the testing that's necessary. It helps them just providing the awareness of what an opportunity is. And then to fully support that program, we have our Earned Credit program, which really provides opportunities for construction workforce to work with a company. And so companies that hire from our workforce portal are given certain incentives to make sure that these the workforce that we're training actually moves into a job. And then one other, as I know our time is limited, I want to talk about our Partnering for Growth program.
This is why you're here. This is why you're here. We'll talk about it, okay?
Okay. So our Partnering for Growth program, too, is really critical because this is a program that encourages prime consultants and contractors to assist small firms with doing business, again, with the Tollway. So it's kind of like the mentorship program. So a smaller firm will partner with a larger firm, will partner with a smaller firm, bring them into the business, show them various segments of how to do business with the Tollway on that awarded project. But we also have done what we call a reverse P4G program, Partnering for Growth, which means now we're moving a subcontractor to the prime as a prime, and then we have what one would traditionally be a prime now work under them as a subcontractor. So this relationship is really so critical, and again, building small businesses, getting them to the next level. And then lastly, I want to talk about our Small Business Initiative program. which is intended to really increase opportunities for small construction companies. And on these types of awards, it's only the small businesses that are bidding within the population for the scopes of service on these contracts, and not necessarily not bidding against some of the larger firms, but really kind of in the pool of firms that are within the same revenue price point that they are. So these are just, just an example of some of the opportunities, some of the things that we're doing from a diversity standpoint to encourage small, businesses to do business with the Tollway, but also really across, the state of Illinois. We're building that pipeline so that small and diverse businesses not only have the opportunity to work with Illinois Tollway, but for the other agencies within our region.
Cassaundra, if we don't already have these programs documented on the IBTTA website in our document exchange to share with other people, we're going to make sure we do this, because what you're talking about are lessons and programs and things that every toll agency could do, or at least most of them could do, if they just had a little guiding nudge to do that, a little bit of information.
Absolutely.
I'm going to make a couple of announcements, and then we'll come back to you for some final words of wisdom. So, to all our viewers, don't forget to complete the survey at the end of this program. We'd love to have your feedback on Café IBTTA. We have a number of upcoming events. Our next guest on Café IBTTA is Janine Miller, Executive Director of the State Road and Tollway Authority in Atlanta, Georgia. She will join us on July 19th. July 30 through August 1 is our Maintenance Engineering and Roadway Operations Workshop in Nashville, Tennessee. October 6 through 10 is our next Board of Directors meeting and the IBTTA annual meeting in Seattle. And check the IBTTA website for details on all of our upcoming meetings. So Cassaundra, what final words of wisdom do you have before we sign off today?
Oh, Pat, I tell you, words of wisdom, what can I offer? So, one of my, favorite quotes is excellence is a gradual result of always striving to do better. And so I just challenge all of our listeners and, anyone that has the opportunity to listen to us at our cafe this morning, Pat, to, always strive to do better. And where I invest a lot of my time, especially knowing, I love youth. I love encouraging them to just, experience and have opportunities, but most importantly, to look at transportation. I always say, along with my counterpart at Illinois Department of Transportation, we always say it's a great time to be in transportation, and it really is. And so the opportunities that we have to tell youth about just what we're doing in transportation, what we're doing in tolling, what it really, what it means and what its impacts are and what the economic opportunities are, I think is just so rewarding. And I would just like to challenge all of our listeners to reach back, have some conversations with youth, bring them onto your site. I mean, we're doing it and we're being really intentional of bringing high schoolers and middle high students out to understand and hear from our engineers and our consulting partners that work with us and delivering our program, our technology. I mean, there's probably could be another meeting to talk about the technology it takes to really, have 2.6 million toll transactions daily. So that infrastructure, has to be pretty sound. And so getting, our youth interested in what we're doing. And I saw a question pop on here about the environment and what are we doing there? And so we have a strong environmental team, because we've learned through the years in building the roadways that we have, there's a monarch butterfly that we need to protect. There's a dragonfly that we need to protect.
Right.
There's prairie land that needs to be there. There's trees that need to be planted. So we do all that. And I just enjoy going out. My team enjoys going out, talking to youth, again, about just the opportunities that are out there. And especially from a tolling standpoint, people think, all they think of is just the little transponder. And some of the kids think dropping monies in the buckets. And I'm like, no, we don't do that anymore. So it's just expressing to them that you can be a small business owner. You can have your own construction firm. You can be your own professional engineer. You can have your own trucking business. I mean, there's just so many opportunities out there. And it takes us to be the voice to communicate that.
Cassaundra, you have rocked my world. Thank you so much for being our guest on Café IBTTA. I love your passion and energy and everything you bring to this conversation and to your job. So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
to
Thank you,
all
Pat,
our,
for having me.
you bet, you bet. We'll have to do this again. And to all our viewers, be safe, keep in touch, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks, everybody.